The Gen Z Baddie neighbor. Mr. Chinedu and Mrs. Chiamaka were happy parents. They had a son named Chiwendu. They owned big provision shops in the market. One day, they spoke to their neighbor, Miss Jane, a beautiful and chubby single lady who works from home as an online influencer. Mr. Chinedu and Mrs. Chiamaka begged Miss Jane to help them take care of Chiwendu. Chiwendu's school was close to their house. Miss Jane agreed to help. After a few days, Chiwendu was comfortable with Miss Jane. One day, Chiwendu came back from school. Miss Jane served him jollof rice and chicken. As Chiwendu ate, Miss Jane said, "Chiwendu, let's play a game after you finish eating." Chiwendu asked, "What game, auntie?" Miss Jane said, "In this game, you will touch something and I will touch something." Chiwendu was confused. He didn't understand the game. After eating, Miss Jane took Chiwendu's hand and put it on her bobby. Chiwendu was upset. He said, "Auntie, I don't like this game." Miss Jane was angry, but she stayed calm. She told Chiwendu not to tell anyone about the game. She tried to play with Chiwendu's small bola, and he screamed. He ran out of the house and sat with the gate man. He waited for his parents there. When Mr. Chinedu and Mrs. Chiamaka came home, Chiwendu tried to talk to his mother. "Mommy, I don't like Auntie Jane," he said. Mrs. Chiamaka didn't listen carefully. She said, "Chiwendu, it's just for now. We'll find a better way soon. Just try to like her, please." Chiwendu said, "Mommy, she plays with me in a way I don't like. I hate her." Mrs. Chiamaka didn't let Chiwendu finish. She shouted, "What's wrong with you, Chiwendu? Go and get me a plate so I can serve your food." Chiwendu felt sad. Nobody wanted to listen to him. He went to get a plate for his mother. As he gave her the plate, he looked up at her mother with sad eyes. Mrs. Chiamaka didn't notice. She was too busy serving food. Chiwendu ate his food quietly. He didn't want to talk to anyone. After eating, he went to his room and lay down on his bed. He felt like nobody understood him. The next day, Chiwendu came back from school. Miss Jane was waiting for him. She smiled and said, "Hi, Chiwendu. How was school today?" Chiwendu didn't answer. He just walked past her and went to sit on the couch. Miss Jane followed her. She said, "Chiwendu, what's wrong? Why are you ignoring me?" Chiwendu didn't answer. He just lay down on the couch, trying to ignore Miss Jane. Miss Jane sat down next to him. She said, "Chiwendu, I know you don't like the game we played yesterday. I'm sorry, but it's very good for you. This game will make you even more intelligent in class." Chiwendu opened his eyes and looked at her. He said, "Auntie Jane, I don't like you. I want my parents to find someone else to take care of me." Miss Jane looked surprised. She said, "Chiwendu, why don't you like me? What did I do wrong?" Chiwendu said, "You touch me in a way I don't like, and you always try to make me do things I don't want to do." Miss Jane looked sad. She said, "Chiwendu, I am sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable." Just then, Miss Jane forced Chiwendu's bola in her mouth. He screamed for help, but his voice was too weak to be heard. As Miss Jane was trying to put Chiwendu's small bola in her thing, she heard a heavy knock on the door. She quickly dressed up Chiwendu, who was crying, and threatened him to be quiet. If he dare report her to anybody, she would deal with him. Chiwendu, out of fear, kept quiet. Miss Jane headed to the door. She opened the door. It was the gate man, Damilola. "I heard a cry from your house, so I came to ask if all is well." Damilola said. Yes, all is well. I'm trying to help Chiwendu to do his homework, but he's been too stubborn, so I spanked him, Miss Jane said, her voice unsteady. Damilola left without much assurance. Miss Jane went back inside the house and couldn't find Chiwendu. He had escaped through Miss Jane's kitchen door. Chiwendu ran back to the school. One of the school teachers, Mrs. Queen, who saw him panting, ran to him. Chiwendu, what's wrong? Who is chasing you? She asked, looking worried. Chiwendu couldn't say a word as he was looking around to see if Miss Jane was coming after him. After Mrs. Queen successfully calmed him down, she asked him again in a calm, soft and attentive tone. Chiwendu, talk to me. What happened to you? Who was chasing you? He didn't want to say anything, but after so much persuasion, he told Mrs. Queen everything. She was so furious. She went straight to the headmistress and reported the matter to her. Immediately, the headmistress called Chiwendu's parents and other parents for PTA meeting the next day, and also told Chiwendu's parents if they can come to school as there is an urgency. Mrs. Chiamaka came and took her son. The headmistress refused to say anything but only said, please come to PTA meeting tomorrow morning with your husband. It's very important. Take your son to your shop at the market. Don't allow your son to stay without your neighbor again, please. Tomorrow you will hear everything. Have a great day. Mrs. Chiamaka was confused. As she was leaving with her son, she asked Chiwendu what happened, but he couldn't say anything. The next day during the PTA meeting, the headmistress told Mrs. Queen to narrate what Chiwendu told her the previous day. Mrs. Queen stood up, greeted everyone and started telling Chiwendu's parents what their son has been going through in the hands of their neighbor, Miss Jane. Chiwendu's father stood up with so much anger. What? How dare she? She must be arrested. Immediately, Chiwendu's parents left the PTA meeting with so much anger on their faces. Mr. Chinedu called the police and they went straight to Miss Jane's house. Mrs. Chiamaka knocked angrily on Miss Jane's door. Miss Jane, come out! Where are you? Who is that banging my door? Miss Jane screamed. Immediately, she opened her door. The police heard her. Miss Jane, you are under arrest for child abuse. Remain silent, for anything you say or do will be used against you in the court of law, one of the officers said. Jane couldn't say a word as the police officers took her away. Chiwendu, I'm so sorry for not paying attention to you when you were trying to complain to me about her. I promise to always look after you and listen to you, Mrs. Chiamaka said, and hugged Chiwendu. The trauma of what happened to Chiwendu affected him so much until his parents took him for therapy. Gradually, he started to heal. His parents started paying so much attention to him. Hope you enjoyed this story. Please drop a comment about this story and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel. See you in part 2.